Alright, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching this, you may be part of the 60% of people on average that are watching videos and aren't subscribed. So fix that for yourself. But then go to justthenews.com. This is run by John Solomon after he left The Hill when they went bonkers. He is trying his best to show you the declassifications that are coming out with just the facts. So he is Just the News, and I would recommend you go check that out. This says, first Trump declassified Russia document. So Christopher Steele, the guy that came up with the entire dossier for Hillary Clinton to use against Donald Trump in the 2016 election, well, he had a little bit more to say to the FBI than just that he created it. Steele told the FBI that he leaked Russia collusion stories to help Clinton and Great Britain. He was connected to the primary dossier source by a former NSC staffer and impeachment witness Fiona Hill. Well, doesn't the impeachment for the Ukraine deal make a lot more sense that Fiona Hill was so out to get Trump and was so adamant about Russia and Ukraine and everything that was going on there? This is all connected. If you realize that they tried to pin Russia stuff on Trump because Russia and Ukraine are so tightly connected and that's where they're doing all the rat-holing of money, you think that Russia is an enemy of the Clintons or a competitor? Because enemy means that they are opposed. Competitor means they want the same things, but only for themselves. So, John Solomon did a really nice job here. And we'll read through some of this, but I want to look at the actual documents themselves because they're damning. This says, dossier author Christopher Steele admitted to the FBI that he leaked the stories during the height of the 2016 election to help Hillary Clinton overcome her lingering email scandal. Because, Bernie even said, we're so sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails. Well, apparently Christopher Steele was as well. He believed that Donald Trump's election would be bad for the U.S. relations with his home country of Great Britain. So here he is, he's thinking he's doing a patriotic service to his country by meddling in American elections. How should we thank Great Britain for that, by the way? Okay, so these, according to these documents, declassified by the president today. That's what this is saying. So the FBI's report, the agent's interview in September of 2017, nearly a year after he had been terminated as the informant for the FBI. This has provided the explosive information about his motives. So remember, when the Mueller report came out and said, well, there was no collusion, there was no evidence of collusion, we couldn't find any crime to charge the president with, and immediately you had every conservative who was thinking clearly say, now we must investigate why this happened. What is the motive for having had this investigation to begin with? Here we have it. Steele told agents that the then FBI Director James Comey's decision to reopen the Hillary Clinton email investigation in the fall of 2016, which you can imagine as Hillary, she thinks that just screwed her entire campaign. She is probably holding Comey as the guy that is responsible for this because he's the one that went on the camera and said, we are opening the investigation into Hillary's emails. And then later he came out and said, though we found evidence of wrongdoing, there was no criminality. She didn't break the law. So we're not going to charge her. That is what she thought screwed her up. And so they said this. Steele explained that as the election season went on, they were a company riding two horses, his company, Orbis. This information, investigation, the PI stuff, whether or not the investigation is ever real, they come up with the dirt. Orbis Intelligence is a dirt gathering. It's the Oppo research firm, one of many that they used. Steele explained that the election season goes on, they as a company are riding two horses. They say their client is one, the FBI, is the other. James Comey and Hillary Clinton. So the FBI is paying him. Remember, Christopher Steele has checks coming to him from the FBI as a subsource for the subsource, knows the primary source for this dossier information. He's being paid by the FBI, but the bigger client, the people that hired Orbis initially and introduced them, that's Hillary Clinton. And so he says this, they followed what their client wanted, and they spoke to the press. James Comey's reopening of the Hillary Clinton investigation. They had to pick a horse, and they chose the business client, that is Clinton, over the relationship with the FBI. Read the full transcript here. Okay, so we'll jump into those in just a second. They do have a bunch of redactions. So when you jump into those yourself, you'll see the redactions, but do this. Put both PDFs side by side, because you'll see that one's redactions are actually reflected in the notes on the other one and vice versa. So you can kind of piece it together what they're saying if you're looking at both at the same time. Quote, Steele and Burroughs, that's his business partner from Orbis, described the situation as being one where it was your fault, the FBI, and our fault, Orbis, the memo states. They described President Trump as their main opponent and indicated that they were fearful of how a Trump presidency would negatively impact historical U.S.-U.S. relations. I think they mean U.S.-UK alliance and the U.S.-UK special relationship. Okay, so enough of this. Let's just jump right in to the actual... Okay, so like I said, redactions, big time. If you pull this PDF up yourself, you may even be able to make some of this out. What I've been able to glean from this page is that they are describing payments made to a subsource in the total of roughly, it reads to be $5,500. Don't quote me on it. Pull up the PDF from Just the News. You'll see both transcripts. You'll see both PDFs, and you can look for yourself. This says the Attorney General's guidelines dated 12/13/06 require that any payments of any FBI funds will be made by an FBI agent and that they're tracked like this. So they have a receipt. And this one is even a little bit easier. But you can see, it says from the end of, and then they give you dates in 2015, November 2015 to another time maybe in 2015 or 2016, and then payments made of $5,500. So the FBI is paying the subsource. That's Christopher Steele, if I'm not mistaken. It says on Monday 18 of September and Tuesday the 19th of September, Christopher Steele of Orbis Business Intelligence was interviewed at a hotel in London, in England, by the FBI Special Agent so-and-so and another FBI Special Agent so-and-so. Now, put a pin in that. Imagine you're in a swanky London hotel. You're meeting with two special agents. And you can kind of imagine them as like the mob muscle. Because that is how I see this as this reads. This reads to me as if they are falling on their sword, immediately they're groveling. They're like, please just don't indict us. Please just don't bring us to the States and put us in front of your Senate. Please, because, gosh, we already broke up with you professionally. We don't work with the FBI anymore. We had a contract. Now we don't. But I know the boss is mad. Look, we're sorry we went to the news. We're sorry we went to the media with the story. But you got to understand, Hillary, she's breaking our balls here. What do you want us to do? That's how this reads. It says, the Steele and Burroughs characters both were at the meeting. Burroughs left after about an hour. So he's the business partner. Steele ended up talking to these guys for 2 days. It says, on September the 18th, Burroughs opened the interview by expressing concern over loose business ends with the FBI. Now, I know we're jumping all over, but I told you, the redactions would help you read both pages. See, this one is redacted, but this clearly says, blank, very concerned about the loose business ends. Okay, so just understand, you can look at both of these side by side and put together that is supposed to be blurring out this name of Burroughs. Okay, so you have Christopher Steele and Christopher Burroughs. This one would more than likely say CB because the other one says CS when talking about Christopher Steele, right? CS's name right here, CS. You can see CS where my mouse is. Now see this one. The cursor's over the blank. That's going to be CB. So just understand as you read these, it's pretty simple to put together. Steele and Burroughs apologizing for going to the press in the fall of 2016, but Steele explains that as the election season went on, they as a company were riding those two horses, their client and the FBI. And after FBI Director James Comey's reopening of the Clinton investigation, they had to pick one horse, and they chose the business/client relationship over the relationship with the FBI. They followed what their client wanted. They spoke to the press. They described the overall situation as being one where it was both your fault and our fault, they say. That is total mob talk, right? Like it's trying to make good by everybody because everyone's a little dirty. Let's just say, hey, we're sorry. This is disgusting. To me, maybe you guys don't mind. Maybe you're like, yeah, this is business as usual. But it gets so much worse. Check this out. Steele and Burroughs were confused over whether the agents represented the FBI itself or the Office of Special Counsel. Because they don't want to talk to the FBI and the CSO and have the Special Counsel's office and have different stories being told. So they're asking, wait a second here. Are you interviewing us for the Office of Special Counsel, or are you interviewing us for the FBI? Because the FBI may be asking them in relation to Hillary. They don't want to say anything against their client. But if it's for the Office of Special Counsel, then it's all good. Folks, pause the video, because this is where it gets juicy. So get a glass of water or something, because this is what they've been hiding from you. Christopher Steele and Burroughs made a comment saying that in former careers, Burroughs knows Robert Mueller. So the reason that Christopher Steele's name is out there big time in the news and Christopher Burroughs is not really being heard of at all, and the reason that he's only at the meeting for 45 minutes and Christopher Steele's there for 2 days, because the FBI is grilling Christopher Steele. But Mueller's old friend Christopher Burroughs, well, they know each other from way back when. Probably during that whole weapons of mass destruction, we definitely have the evidence. Britain has the evidence. MI6 got the evidence. I wonder where they got it from. Robert Mueller was behind all of that with Christopher Burroughs. Make no doubt about it. This says, Steele and Burroughs indicated frustrations by the inclusion of their company in the reporting in the United States. They were supposed to be just kind of quietly doing this in the background. They weren't supposed to be named publicly. Christopher Steele's pissed about this. He says, the reporting in the United States and the intelligence community's assessment, so the ICA, of Russia interference in the 2016 election, particularly the annex, as reported in the media. So this is like the special little tail on the report that says all the dirt that the media wants you to believe is true. Steele and Burroughs felt that they should have had advanced warning that the company's reporting was going to be used in that annex. The inclusion of that company's information, so basically what he's freaking out about that you now know, that public leak of that annex put Steele's name out there and had a massive impact on our lives, unquote. Steele and Burroughs wanted to know what the U.S. intelligence communities, etc., governments had worked out of all of this. So why is it blacked out the U.S. blank governments had worked all of this out, and also wanted to know blank was told of the information was going to the ICA? What names do you think are there? Federal governments, shadow governments, Obama, Biden governments. What do you think is in the... Who knows? I'm not going to guess at that, but I would hypothesize that he's not talking about legitimate governments if they're blacked out like that. So these redactions go on for a while here. They talk about how they were hermetically sealed in terms of the reporting. They had discrete networks. No one was going to be able to crack them. I'm going to flip you over now to the other page. This one may be a little bit easier to read because it's just kind of like the shorthand. They obviously go back and type up the notes. So some of these have intermittent redactions that you can qualify or qualify side by side, like I just did with this CB. So this is clearly Christopher Burroughs being concerned about loose business ends. Never a good thing when a dirty swamp creature is afraid of loose ends. It doesn't mean anything good for those people that are the loose ends. Read this piece, though. This says they brought the inclusion of the material that's in the ICA annex multiple times, the people that are on these phone calls. Let's back up a little bit. He had said, Christopher Burroughs says, I know Robert Mueller. I know that guy. So don't worry if I'm talking to the people that are working for Robert Mueller special counsel, then we can talk. And they said, well, we're just here with the FBI. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm out. You can talk to Christopher Steele. That's how that reads to me. They make their apologies. They say, I'm sorry, let's put this to bed. Then he leaves. They're also upset because at the time, Barack Obama, the president, had this big call with the intelligence community. Once they had gone to the media, once this dossier comes out, President Obama stung. He didn't have time to put together an ICA report to have ready for the media. So when Steele and others, Orbis, go to the media and say, hey, look, this dossier for Trump and Russia's got him, and there's all these incriminating and really damaging and really terrible things they have on Trump. It's so terrible. It's really just awful. Compromising positions and videos. Awful. Well, Obama didn't have anything to back that up with, so he scrambled. They say, we're frustrated by the inclusion of that report in that annex. The ICA, which included that annex, was based on POTUS's, that's Obama's, USIC, so that's United States Intelligence Community-wide call for information on Russian influence in the 2016 election. So I know this is quick and this is late and I'm trying to get this out, but what that means is this. The dossier, information, and the fact that it exists gets leaked. It gets leaked to BuzzFeed by McCain and the McCain Institute's Mr. Kramer. We're going to see that in a second. It gets leaked to Mother Jones by the folks at Fusion GPS because Bruce Orr said, well, I can't leak it at the Department of Justice, but my friends at Fusion GPS can leak it, so we'll get them to give it to Mother Jones. So it gets out that way. They're circulating that story on itself like, hands on a baseball bat, where it says, well, I heard that and I heard this piece, and that, another article gets written on top of that, qualified by the last article. And they're all written by the same idiots that are just publishing this through different little leaks. That's what you hear. And then after those leaks get made, Obama says, we don't have anything to back this up other than the fake stuff you bought. Do we have anything real that can give this some bones and make it look legit? So he asks, remember those 17 intelligence communities, the intelligence community members, so you have the FBI, the CIA, and then 15 others that all said, yes, we concur. Russia did hack the election. Remember that? Remember when they all said it? It's because Obama called them and asked, hey, do you have any information? And their reporting, as it was provided to the FBI, was a part of the overall material that fit in for that call. So again, when he calls the intelligence community asking them, do you have anything? They all say, well, in addition to us saying whatever you want, sir, we do have this one thing I read on BuzzFeed, and oh yeah, sir, I read this in Mother. So they all are giving themselves back the information that was cycled out that they were supposed to be aware was fake. They were supposed to know that was just the media buzz, the chum in the water to get the sharks churning for Trump. They couldn't even get that. This is how disorganized and stupid this was. These people are not smart. They say the use of that information and the subsequent public leak of that information put Christopher Steele's name out, and that had a massive impact on his life. Okay, you heard that. So they had strong statements about President Trump. They registered Trump as their main opponent and registered fear about how Trump negatively impacted UK alliances with the US. We got to that. Then this says here, talked about Bruce Orr's connections with them during the run-up of the election. They gave Bruce Orr material that obviously he had to do something about, so he just gave it to Nellie, right? You guys know this. Bruce, explained that the DOJ has a policy regarding being hands-off prior to elections. But then Comey's announcement came out, and it really screwed up their client, they thought. Hillary Clinton just got burned by Comey publicly, so the gloves have come off, they say. That's interesting. Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS was aware that he was sharing reports and information with the FBI, so all these people are aware of the scam. It's not that they have any plausible deniability. These people have all testified. So this is the first one to come out. This is the first interview to be declassified. This is Christopher Steele now saying, shit, I told them all of that, and I told them that in confidence, and now they're declassifying it. Not good for Christopher Steele. A lot more in this. It also talks about how this was leaked to the McCain-Kramer folks, which, if I can find it, here's the McCain-Kramer folks. Obviously, No Name is not here anymore. No Name is no living, no mo. But from the McCain Institute, David Kramer, Human Rights and Democracy. He's a big senior fellow over there. You guys want to guess what he's really, really focused in? Human rights and labor for European and Eurasian affairs, responsible for Russia, Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus. Guys, it's pretty obvious at this point. That's why they released these things. So read through them. These are good. These are good things for you to be aware of. And also, one really fun thing to be aware of is this. If Donald Trump, if the President of the United States did not declassify this foot tall binder. This is the first document, but they said that there is a foot tall binder of documents. Foot tall? I don't know how big a foot is. A foot tall binder full of these. This is just the first one. He's declassified it all post haste, and he said, and this is what this says here. I'm just reading this date, this 20421231 date. This reads to me as if this is saying declassify on 12/31 of 2042. Maybe I've got that wrong. Maybe this has nothing to do with it, but it looks like 2042, 12/31. 12/31 being like an automatic stop back or backstop date because it's the last day of the year. 2042, I mean, they're just pushing that out for decades, not wanting you to know that the FBI was aware the entire time it was a total sham. They were aware of who all the players were in 2017, and then they still had a massive special counsel investigation. And it turns out, as you saw, that the people who were involved in creating this dirt in the first place knew the special counsel, which means that the special counsel's office, General Robert Mueller, he must have known from the very beginning that this was a farce. And yet, he took this case on. He didn't recuse himself, and he didn't come forward and say, I can solve this very quickly. They're dealing with con artists. He didn't say that at all. In fact, when asked where the intent for all of this came from, why was this started, he said, well, that wasn't in my purview. Don't forget. Keep your eyes open. Keep an eye out for these documents as they come out. Make sure that you head over to John Sullivan's website, Just the News. A pretty credible guy. He's been linked to by high-level Trump supporters and Trump administration officials for years. So I recommend him. I trust him. I think you should too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and do everything else that you can do to kick the commies down and keep America afloat.